accurate and dependable from the Weather Channel. Coming up, a look at your local radar. But first, the current local conditions. The regional forecast. Your local 36-hour forecast from the National Weather Service. Extended forecast. Your local radio.
I'm Sue Simmons, and the heat goes on here in Sauna City. Each day pushes people and vital services to the breaking point. A record that stood for more than 50 years melted today when the temperature hit 100 degrees in Central Park. Water pressure has fallen to dangerous lows because of open fire hydrants. That could mean disaster if an inferno breaks out. Heat exhaustion and breathing problems are also on the increase as we sweat out another scorcher. Our Heat Beat starts with Steve Dunlop live at Con Ed's Command Center, where the juice is flowing to keep air conditioners going. Steve?
Well, Sue, that's right. It is, of course, air-conditioned in here, thank goodness. But this nerve center for New York's power system has had one very hot and very busy day. Between 3 and 4 this afternoon, they hit the second biggest day in New York history in terms of power consumption. The level at that time was 10,608,000,000 watts, and it hasn't dropped very far from that at this point. It's the biggest day since July 23rd, 1991, which was the all-time winner. In addition, the New York Power Pool, which represents all the utilities in the state, themselves had their biggest day ever. It was a day when a steamy, hard-boiled New York seemed to squeeze every last watt out of its electric grid. Is it air-conditioned inside?
Oh, very much so. It is.
Almost to the point of being cold, huh?
Not quite. It's comfortable.
Even Big Alice, at 928 megawatts, the largest Con Ed power plant in the 5 boroughs, could supply less than a tenth of what was needed as demand hit its peak. Con Ed warned there may be sporadic power difficulties now and in the days ahead.
From a design standpoint, we're well within our ability to meet our customers' needs, and so we have not had to resort to voltage reductions or issue appeals to people to cut back.
One reason is new capacity. All major utilities east of the Rockies are now connected to each other and can share a temporary increase in demand. Another reason is that utilities are now in the conservation business. At Con Ed's Conservation Center, 60 callers a day want information on energy-efficient air conditioners.
We have the capability of taking their room size or the entire area that they're looking to cool and tell them exactly what size BTU air conditioner they should be looking for.
Well, there are other problems besides power-associated problems with this story. Illegal fire hydrant openings are causing a big drop in water pressure in some parts of town. Officials are warning that that could interfere with the ability to fight fires, so they're pleading with people to keep those hydrants closed or at least get a sprinkler cap, which is available from the local police precinct. An ozone health advisory is up for the entire New York region, the 5 boroughs, Long Island, Lower Hudson Valley, Northern New Jersey. Lilco on Long Island also had a record day for power demand, we're told. Let's go now to Roger Stern in Valley Stream to see how people are coping there. Roger?
Well, Steve, here on Long Island, people are doing whatever they're doing all over our area, trying to hide behind air conditioners in stores here and in offices, but there are many who aren't that lucky. They have to work in this heat. How hot is it? Well, it's not as hot as the tip of that flame, though. It sure feels like it is.
Oh, it's over 200 degrees.
A lot hotter than the weather.
Yeah, I don't know about that. It's pretty hot under here, period.
So I guess the toss-up, what's hotter, out in the sun or in front of that
I'd
porch?
rather be here right now. I've been out in the sun. It's pretty hot out there.
You've heard of tar beach? Well, those roofers are laying down the tar, and it's no beach. How are they coping?
Said, when you have 400 degrees coming off the rubber, It's not that bad, really.
How you dealing with the heat today? Taking breaks, a lot of water,
A lot of fluids.
Maybe it's easier working near the water, like in a car wash. Maybe it helps you forget the heat. But that's not easy at a service station, pumping gas, standing in the sun on the hot concrete that makes it feel like an oven.
Not the air condition. No, I have air condition, but there's a lot of drink, the water, something, drink.
And driving a truck is no picnic either. How cool are these cabs in the summer?
Very hot. Very hot. There's no air conditioning, as you can see. Get the windows open, cool us down. Do the best we can.
And there's one other group of workers we shouldn't forget, the men and women who take the pictures, like News 4's Carmine Aloisio, who you see working on a story for News 4 at 6. They carry 40-pound cameras trying to keep up with reporters who have nothing heavier to carry than the microphone. Well, there's one other cameraman I also want to mention, George Cavalier, who has also been braving the heat today. We will be back on News 4 at 6 to tell you about another kind of worker, the people who walk up and down for miles on the Long Island Railroad tracks to make sure those tracks don't buckle in the heat so you can ride in the cool air-conditioned cars. We'll have that coming up. Reporting live from Valley Stream, I'm Roger Stern, News 4 Long Island. Let's go back to you in the studio.
All right, Roger, thank you. Well, some Lowe's theaters in the New York area are allowing patrons to stay inside where it's air-conditioned for more than one showing during these extremely hot days. You should check with your local theater for details.
And New York City is keeping its pools open an extra hour so people can take a dip to stay cool if they want to. Dozens of kids packed into area pools. All the lifeguards say the crowd seemed a bit smaller than usual. They think it's just so hot the people who have air conditioning in their homes prefer to stay inside, don't even want to go out to the pool. Now, to find out what's fueling all this heat, let's check in now with Ira Joe Fisher. Ira?
Well, Chuck, we have been talking for several days now about a high-pressure ridge, and that's the big H you see just off the southeastern coast of the U.S., and the arrow is showing you the direction from which our hot and humid air is coming. It is simply locked in place, and that is also causing out in the west the low centered up in Canada and in between the colliding air masses, which have triggered the really heavy thunderstorms and rain in the Mississippi Valley. Neither system is moving. They're simply locked in. It's a stagnant situation that isn't likely to change and has contributed to our 100-degree temperature, breaking the old record of 98 in 1937 today in Central Park. Newark hit 105. It's still well over 100 there, 104, I think, the last check. And in Atlantic City today, 96 degrees, breaking their record of 94 degrees. And let's look at some heat indexes. That's the combination of temperature and humidity and the discomfort associated with the combination on your exposed skin. Look at these readings. Well up in over 100 degrees, 119 earlier today in Newark. Now, again, that was at the peak temperature time, but it was hot then. We'll be back later on to talk about the forecast. And is there any hope? Maybe a little tiny bit. Stay tuned. We'll talk about it a little bit later on News 4. Sue, Chuck?
Oh, we'll take anything at this point.
I know it, absolutely.
All right,
Thanks, Ira. The American Red Cross has once again issued a heat emergency alert for the metropolitan area. You are urged to avoid long exposure to the sun and obviously drink plenty of liquids. Sue?
Well, as you get older, it can be harder to keep your body from overheating. Seen live from home.